Hi everyone, sorry about that. It's Coach Fred here, and I'm going to be going over question number 17 from the distance equals rate times time worksheet. And this is a system using distance and winds. So we had against a headwind, Will computes his flight for a trip of 2,900 miles at 5 hours. So he's going against the wind. He's got a headwind. All right, so I'm going to label my first box against. It says he's going 2,900 miles. He did it in 5 hours. So my rate is unknown, meaning the plane's speed, and then the headwind, okay? So I'm going to have to then do the R minus W. R minus W. I'm actually using capital R. R minus W. Why R minus W? Because we know that when we're going against a headwind, it's harder. All right, and then it says the flight would take 4 hours and 50 minutes if the headwind were half as much. So this isn't going against and then with the wind. It's not going back. He's trying to decide when probably he should leave. So the second way he computes this is it's against half that same wind. So that would be R minus 1/2 W. All right, the distance would be the same, but the time is the big question. We want to be really careful with the time because it says 4 hours and 50 minutes. 4 hours and 50 minutes does not mean 4.5. It does not mean 4.5. And if you try to convert it, it becomes 4 hours and 50 over 60 because 50 minutes is a fraction of an hour, which is 4 and 5/6. Okay, but you can't multiply with the mixed numbers. In algebra, we don't really use mixed numbers. So you'd want to turn that into an improper fraction. So that would be 29 over 6. Why can't I turn it into a decimal, Coach Fred? You might be asking. Well, because it's a repeating decimal. So if we're going to do the system and we're going to be able to do all the work, it has to be a fraction. So this is why you've spent so much time practicing clearing fractions. But I'm going to show you a couple really cool techniques. All right, so I have my equations now. So my first equation is 2,900 equals 5R minus 5W. I jumped to the distributive property right here, okay? All right, now I noticed that all of those numbers are divisible by 5. So this is a trick, guys, and a technique to make things simpler. You can divide them all by 5, okay? If I divide them all by 5, that's going to give me R minus W equals 580. Now, I flipped it around because I just thought it was easier to look at it. All right, my second equation, if I do my distribute, this is where this one gets trickier. So I'm going to actually do 2,900 equals 29 over 6R minus 29 over 12W. Because 29 over 6 times 1/2 gives me 29 over 12. Okay, I want to make sure everybody saw how I was doing that. Well, this one's ugly. So you have a couple of options here, okay? So the best option for me was to clear the fractions. So I did that first. I multiplied both sides by 12. Okay. So 12 times 2,900 gives me 34,800. All right, 12, because you have to multiply it to every single term, that 12. So 29 over 6 times 12. 6 goes into 12 2 times, and then you multiply 2 times 29, which gives me 58R. Okay? All right, then on this last one, the 12s cancel, and I get 29W. Okay, I do not want to be dealing with numbers like this. So my technique here is for me to check to take the smallest number and see if it is a factor of both 58 and 34,800. So I'm just going to take 58, and I'm going to divide it by 29. It does go in. And 34,800, I'm going to divide it by 29, and it does go in. So I'm going to divide, instead of 5 like I did in the early one, I'm going to divide them all by 29. Okay? So if I do that, that gives me 1200 equals 2R minus W. So I'm going to write it up here. 2R minus W equals 1200. Now I know that might seem like a lot of work, but it's a lot less work than if you tried to use the huge numbers. All right, so now I can see I can easily use elimination if I multiply the bottom equation by a negative. So I'm going to multiply that by -1, getting negative 2R, positive W, negative 1200. All right, I'm going to add those together, and I'm going to get a negative R equals negative 620, and so R equals 620. All right, it asked for the headwind and the plane's airspeed. We just found the plane's airspeed. It is 620 miles an hour. To find the wind, I'm actually going to plug it into this first equation. So 620 minus W equals 580. And so once I subtract 620, I can see that I get negative W equals negative 40, so W equals 40. So that tells me that my wind speed is 40 miles per hour. And there are my two answers. All right, guys, sorry that class got glitchy with the Zoom today. Hopefully this was helpful, and have a great day.